So we'll start with the next one. This is a masterclass, Future of TV Content Subtitling. We have Professor Brij Kothari, who is founder Planet Red and co-lead at Billion Readers Initiative, which is BIRD for short. And Brij is an academic and social entrepreneur, and he's a faculty at IIM Ahmedabad and the founder, as I said, of Planet Red and BIRD. We also have Neerav Kumar Shah. He is COO at Planet Red and Billion Readers Initiative. Neerav has been the CEO of Planet Red and Bookbox since 2003, and also working on the SLS project right from its inception in 2002. I'd like to welcome them both on stage.
So my name is Brij Kothari, and you must be wondering what is a professor doing at this conference, right? I'm not from the industry, but we have actually worked and leveraged and tried to do much with the industry, okay? And so this is a 25-year journey that I'm going to try to present to you today. So the first thing I want to just tell you is that this is a big, big, big idea that will touch every Indian's life. And when I say every Indian, it's going to be 1 billion plus Indians, okay? So it's not a small idea, it's not something that is targeted at one language or one community, but it'll actually touch every Indian's life. So when I say 1 billion beneficiaries, we literally mean that, okay? I'm going to say in just one phrase what this idea is. And your first reaction would probably be that, why? And I'll have the rest of the time to develop perhaps why this is important. So the idea is extremely simple. Whenever content is produced in India, in any language, whether it's the film industry, whether it's the television industry, whether it's the streaming industry, there has to be one additional feature that is currently not there, or it's there in small ways, in some ways, but it's not there in all Indian languages, let's say. And that idea is as simple as this, and we call it same language subtitling. Whatever is the audio track, the subtitles of that audio track exactly in the same language appear on the screen. You might have seen some expressions of that already on television. For example, all of English content in India has English language subtitles. We're familiar with that. Everyone knows that. Does it exist in all Indian languages? Not yet, but some expressions of it have started, right? So the question obviously is, why do you want it? Right? So effectively is that whenever content is produced, for example, content has visuals, content has audio, AV, that is the obvious fact. But what we're saying is a third element of the content should become an integral part of the content, and that is the same language subtitles. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And okay, so here's what this idea may seem a little odd at the beginning. Why? And let me take you through it. Firstly, this is an idea that is now inevitable. It is going to happen, and I'll also explain why. So it's better that we all embrace it because it is almost part of a legal framework. And so it's best that we embrace it and make it ours, which means that we can start to see how can everybody benefit from it, the viewers, the producers, the distributors, everybody. Right. Next. Okay. This is the legal framework in which I'm talking today. First is there is an act, Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, and that was framed in 2016, which actually requires that content is made accessible to people with disabilities. And it's already mentioned there that TV generally has to have subtitling, but the broader extension of that is all content has to have same language subtitling, which means effectively captions in for that. But the point I'm making is that actually it's not only for the deaf and hard of hearing. It's actually beneficial to the hearing also. And other features that will come in, I'll also explain why they're beneficial for everybody. Based on that act, the accessibility standards were framed. And the accessibility standards effectively require that 50% of the entertainment content on television today has to carry same language subtitling or same language captioning. Okay? Again, why that is the case is where I'll get into it. The other legal and policy framework, this is a big thing that's developing and is actually going to, I mean, the industry will have to certainly adhere to this. There is a case going on in the Delhi High Court. Many of you may be familiar with this, but there was an order in January 2023 when Pathan was released, and Yashraj Films was actually taken to court that they should be providing same language captioning and audio description to the film, and the petition was for the theaters as well. But the judge, of course, ruled that it was too short a time frame. The movie was about to be released. You can't do that. But the judge ordered that before it goes on streaming platform, and I think Amazon Prime was where it went. It has to carry these two features: same language captioning and subtitling, as well as audio description. Okay, that was the ruling of the Delhi High Court. Subsequently, the question came up, well, why only Pathan? Why not all films? And I'm just sharing this legal framework because I think it's extremely important and it's going to affect all of us here. So why not all films that are certified by the Central Board of Film Certification, right, in all languages? Why only Pathan? You can't single out on a movie or one producer. Then the question is, well, on the OTT platforms, why not have this as a feature in all Indian languages? Now, mind you, in all OTT platforms, 95% of the English content today has English subtitles. 6 to 7% of the Indian language content has Indian language subtitles, right? So that's the fact. Right, so there is a big discrepancy. English में तो हो रहा है, मगर Indian languages में नहीं हो रहा है, right? So that issue is there. Next, please. Now let me tell you the impact of that High Court order on Pathan. Right, so this is how it is currently available on Amazon Prime. Play. Okay, I don't know if you were able to see the captioning or same language subtitling the bottom, Hindi on Hindi. Were you able to see at the back? Yes. Okay, good. I was worrying whether the chairs are going to come into the way. Okay, great. So on songs, this is exactly what's going on. On dialogue.
बहुत घटिया आदत है यार, जहां पार्टी देखी बिन बुलाए चले आता है। मान ना मान, मैं तेरा पठान। पार्टी पठान के घर पे रखोगे तो मेहमान नवाजी के लिए पठान तो आएगा और पटाखे भी लाएगा।
Okay, yeah. Now, this is happening. This has been ordered. Many of you are thinking why. How many of you are thinking why? Just be honest about it. क्यों हो रहा है? मतलब what is the purpose of this? Okay, a few of you, but maybe more of you should be actually thinking about it also. Why, right? So let's go to the next one. There are a few myths that I'm going to try to address. The first myth is that same language subtitling and captions are good only for the deaf. Why are the hearing being subjected to this, let's say on television? It's a legitimate question. Okay. Next. Let me tell you how big that audience is and where that I think it's a myth. Firstly, the idea of deaf and hard of hearing is about 7 crore people in the country. Okay. And that's not just the deaf and hard of hearing. And in fact, all of us will someday become hard of hearing also possibly, right? The second reason is that actually it's good for reading practice at a national level, right? Now there is evidence that we have contributed to show that actually when you have captions in the same language, weak readers tend to want to read, and it improves their reading skills. And there's several eye tracking studies, etc. So now it is internationally accepted that actually the reading skills of people improve, and that's we're talking about 60 crore people, 600 million people in the country who are weak readers who will benefit from reading practice. Now these are the hearing. So mind you, the benefits are not just for a slice of deaf and hard of hearing, it's for the hearing as well. The other is for which there is evidence is that about 100 crore people will actually benefit from language learning, right? Now these things may not be an industry's concern, to be honest, and that's fair, but it's also an opportunity for the industry to say that we are contributing to something big here at a national level, right? It's an opportunity, and just park that thought even if you think that that's not your goal as yet. Okay. Next. Now, one thing, and this has come up again and again, is that, you know, really will viewers in all over India really want this, like this? It may probably ruin the visual experience, etc. I'm going to show you some clips, and this is based on research that we have done in Punjab, in Bihar, in Andhra Pradesh. And what we're finding over and over again that actually viewers love it. And this is the hardest point to convince to the industry, that actually viewers want it. And I'll tell you this, somebody who's a weak reader, somebody who has very few opportunities for reading practice and language learning, etc., they immediately see the educational value of it. And I want the industry to understand at least the value of it. Okay, so play that.
तो जो तुम कार्टून कौन सा देखते हो, वीर द रोबो देखते हो ना, तो वीर द रोबो पे भी नीचे लिखा हुआ आएगा, तो अगर लिखा हुआ आए तो कैसा लगेगा?
बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा।
क्यों? अब एक एक करना बताना क्यों अच्छा लगेगा?
क्योंकि उसमें से तो पढ़ेंगे सब तो कुछ कुछ नया शब्द मिलेगा।
ठीक है, तो इनको लग रहा है नया शब्द मिलेगा, इसके अलावा
शिक्षा भी मिलेगी।
कैसी शिक्षा मिलेगी? वो तो सुन के भी मिल रही है।
तो पढ़ेंगे तो पढ़ने भी आएगा।
Okay. They see the value of education that we, because we are already ये पढ़ना लिखना है तो हमको आ गया, अब क्या है इसमें, but हम नहीं समझ पा रहे हैं इसकी वैल्यू, लेकिन लोग गाँव में एक्चुअली इसकी वैल्यू एकदम तुरंत समझ जाते हैं, एंड केवल बच्चे नहीं, पेरेंट्स, अदर्स, टीचर्स, they also understand. Next one, just play this.
इतना अच्छा सुन के नहीं, इतना अच्छा लिखा हुआ और सुन के लगता है, ताकि मैं इसको देख करके बोल के पढ़ भी सकूँ, और बिना सुने जितना अच्छा याद नहीं रहता, और लिखा हुआ उनको बहुत ज़्यादा याद रहता है, इसलिए
अच्छा,
डबल देखने से याद हो जाता है, एक बार देखने से नहीं।
Okay. Next. And ये केवल स्कूल के बच्चों की बात नहीं हो रही है, in the communities also you will start seeing that people actually start to appreciate. And I'll just again play a very short clip here.
पिक्चर या कुछ भी फिल्म या कुछ भी देखते हैं ना, तो वो माइंड में तुरंत आ जाता है, गाना वगैरह कुछ भी सुनते हैं तो, और मतलब बुक में कुछ भी पढ़ाई टीचर देंगे पढ़ेंगे तो कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा, और अभी जो देखें और मोबाइल में मीनिंग वो सब माइंड में आते याद हो जाता है.
Okay, next. The point is that the industry needs to probably see this as an opportunity. आपकी viewership expand हो सकती है because people are seeing the value that we may not even understand very well. हमने इसका impact research भी किया है, and we found that basically yes it works. Automatically people try to read along and their reading skills improve. And so here just to give you a quick graph, actually after 2-3 years of exposure to this in their own language, children's reading skills more than doubled. Effectively, we got double the number of good readers at the end of 2-3 years, right? So that's the power of something like this. Now imagine all the children in the country becoming good readers. That's a massive national benefit. Yeah. A newspaper reading improves because they become better readers. So that's another level of improvement that we saw. And this idea that we're talking about is not just localized anymore. Oh, ये कोई professor बता रहा था इंडिया में कुछ ऐसा हो रहा है. It is now international. It is accepted in the sustainable development goals कि ये solution है शायद इंडिया से आ रहा है, which will be useful for other countries as well. And so this was picked up much earlier by Bill Clinton. So I'll just show you a clip of that.
Same language subtitling doubles the number of functional readers among primary school children. A small thing that has a staggering impact on people's lives.
Okay, next. Okay, so first myth that is only good for the deaf and hard of hearing, I hope I have at least addressed that. You can be the judge whether it's, you know, it's convincing enough or not, but it's definitely good for reading skill development and language learning across the country, right? That's a big, big, big benefit that touches all viewers. Now, the second myth that I'm going to address, and this goes directly to the industry actually, अगर ये करना पड़े तो बड़ा costly है, and it's a pain point. Like why should we do it, right? I mean, and इसका पैसा कहाँ से आएगा? मतलब this is another layer of thing that we have to do, right? I mean, it's a very, again, a legitimate reaction. So I'm going to try to bust that myth as well as saying that it may not be as costly as we think, and there are ways in which to address it. Firstly, the policy and legal framework almost requires that we do it, okay? So there is really, it's almost inevitable that we have to do it. Now the best is to embrace it and say, okay, how can we do it best? So that the cost comes down for everybody, the entire ecosystem. So we have over time come up with a strategy which may be very straightforward for you all, but I think this can be beneficial to the entire ecosystem. अब ये individual responsibility से collective responsibility पे चले जाएं, okay? So basically what I mean is that if, for example, at production, there is a same language subtitling file that is created to match the final content. अभी क्या होता है, we have a script के basis पे content बनता है और script doesn't follow the content final what it is, right? Because there is no use for that script after that. There's a content has been produced now and many changes have happened. But what I'm saying is that the script needs to be true 100% to the content when it's final, right? So basically that same language subtitling file literally matches the text word for word, let's say the dialogue and the songs, and it becomes, that file of text and time codes becomes a part of the digital content package, okay? Or some people call it digital cinema package, but digital content package to be more general, right? That can apply to films, that can apply to television, etc. And if it is done at that time, downstream, it becomes extremely easy and at very little cost to the entire industry. So for example, for films, the way it will work is that whenever a film is submitted to the Central Board of Film Certification, this additional file is submitted for the final product that has been certified, and the file exactly matches text-wise, word for word, to the final product, right? That becomes part of the package for distribution, for licensing, etc., right? Then the advantages of this, rather than doing it in piecemeal, is that cinema halls can decide whether they want to turn it on or off. They have a choice. It's a choice architecture. Mind you, it's a choice. I'm not saying it needs to be always turned on or it needs to be always turned off. There is that option to turn it on or off now. Now, for example, in the courts, there is a request and almost a demand by the deaf and hard of hearing community कि नहीं ये तो होना चाहिए हमारे लिए. As long as they get a choice on certain shows, certain special screenings for them, then it should work because that choice is there. I'm not saying all the shows have to have it, naturally, because hearing viewers may say, hey, come on, I don't want it always on in a cinema, I want to enjoy my movie the way it is. But as long as I have an X number of shows, X percentage of shows which allows, and then I publicize it like that, then the deaf and hard of hearing community or even the hearing community can come and say, this is the show I want to go to, right? So that choice should be available somewhere. And of course on OTT, it's very obvious, if the OTT platforms get a content with the same language subtitling file, they will put it on. And this has been very clear from all the big platforms. They don't do it if the third party doesn't provide the content with the same language subtitles. They will happily do add it if it's available. For example, Netflix and Amazon today, we did a actual survey of this. Netflix and Amazon on almost all their original content have same language subtitling in all Indian languages. The Indian streaming platforms, majority owned, don't have it in that, right? So there's already the two streaming platforms have understood that this is coming and they have to do it. Now the cost of adding same language subtitles is actually not much. Even with current, if you have to do an existing movie जिसमें आपके पास script नहीं है, उसका भी अगर आप ले लें तो it's roughly in the range of 30,000 per hour, but this is in hindsight if you're doing it. But if you're building it as part of the production, right at the time the content is certified or ready for telecast, at that time if you have the subtitling file, then it really drops to 1/6 of the cost, because all you're doing is making sure that the script stays true to the final product. Okay, next. So simply the goal for CBFC then becomes, ensure that the quality of the same language subtitling file, there are no spelling mistakes, they're perfectly matching, there's no words missing, all of that. So that's a goal that they have, and for that they will have to just develop guidelines and establish some standard operating procedures, right? That's all they will have to do, and the industry will then have to adhere to that mandate. Next. This is very important. I think this is the most important for the industry, is that rather than seeing it as a burden, look at it as an opportunity. And here are some major opportunities for the industry. It's almost like we need to switch that mindset here. Firstly, it will align with the legal and policy framework, which anyway everybody has to do, right? So that's alignment is important. But here's where you can leverage it for your benefit, and everybody can win here. For example, it allows the industry to build its brand as an industry that, wow, we are now part of this contribution to national development, okay? The industry needs that. To be honest, the industry needs that, where you can make, wow, you can affect 100 crore Indians positively. That's a huge brand for the industry, right? Don't think of it as my production house, but think of it as a larger ecosystem. Massive contribution you could make. The other part is the expanded audience. A lot of deaf and hard of hearing today don't go to the cinema halls. You will actually draw them with special screenings. I'm not saying every cinema, every screening has to have it, but special screenings where you will draw them in. So you will expand the audience, and mind you, that audience is about 6 crore people, right? So that's a massive number. But also understand that all of us are progressively deaf and hard of hearing at some level. Sooner or later, some percentage, quite a significant percentage of us will be in that category. And that's a big group, right? So people are not just born deaf, people become deaf and hard of hearing also. But you will draw them also, the older generation, right? That's possible. The enhanced edutainment value of content in rural markets, which is what I showed you. Now, this is something we ask them what are the programs they watch, what channels, and we have a very good understanding of what they're watching, and all of it is on all the channels that they're watching, at least in the low income communities, is on free dish, right? The channels are there on the free dish. Now, once you start adding something like this, you might be able to attract many of them to your channels as well, okay? Because they see value, and please, you can do your own independent research on this, but understand that viewers on the ground are actually appreciating it. Sometimes we don't understand it. In fact, this argument I had long ago when we were trying to implement same language subtitling on Chitrahar and Rangoli, and the industry very clearly said, no, a television channel said, no, it won't work, it's a bad idea, viewers won't like it. Well, sometimes the industry may not be entirely in tune with some viewers, right? In fact, it's a massive viewer. I'm talking about 60% of India, where you will find that if you did a survey, they will all prefer it. The other point is where the industry can benefit is searchability of content. Now imagine if a text file is part of the content package, that content is searchable. I can make all kinds of requests. Show me the names of movies in which this idea is there, right? Or this dialogue is there. I can actually get that movie in front. Imagine what kinds of technology layers will start benefiting from making all your videos, all the films searchable. The national and global marketability of content downstream, right? Now, as soon as you have the content produced and every content piece has a long life, and there are many like the Indian diaspora globally wants to learn an Indian language, for example, right? So you have enhanced the value for that diaspora by saying that this is available with same language subtitling, and that becomes a language learning tool for them. And mind you, that diaspora wants to learn language. The part that is in the future, how AI will leverage the fact that there is this subtitle script associated with the film, it would be very interesting, for example, for what's known as transcreation, and which effectively means that you can do transliteration, of course, but also translation, right? So once you have the script that is clean as part of the package, you can use AI tools to create translation, dubbing, even audio description. AI tools will come and create some of that for you, and that's getting better and better. So you're actually creating an infrastructure for it, for the content, for the AI layers and technology layers to come on it. I'm going to stop there to ask you some reactions to this, if anybody wants to think of something. For example, even something where you see that abhi bhi nahi samajh mein aaya mujhe, and I would welcome that. Welcome some resistance perhaps, or somewhere you see that okay, we didn't think of this earlier, and maybe there's some. So let me just open it up a little bit to if anybody wants to comment on it. Yeah, please. Yeah.
When I see English movies, I don't catch all the dialogue. I often use the subtitling for understanding that. I think it's important tool for a lot of people, which is like me.
Okay, great. So,
I mean, I
please
asked my
go
question.
ahead again. You can just repeat it.
Just repeating my question. That I use the subtitles so that I catch the dialogue. I mean, so many English movies I am not able to catch the dialogues. I use that for understanding that.
Yeah, and thank you for that comment. Actually, there have been surveys after surveys in many countries. Now, interestingly, the younger generation has shifted to exactly what he said. He's a young guy. so the younger generation wants, especially on English, they want that, because sometimes it's about pronunciation, sometimes it's about accent. All these things are there, and also a lot of our viewing situation in a living room is actually often noisy. So partly, यार कोई ना कोई बात करते रहता है, तो I can at least follow the dialogue anyway, right? So we are not only watching one-on-one with the screen, right? So there's major advantages. And imagine all Indian households, how noisy there will be. वहाँ तो कई लोगों के पास तो एक ही कमरा है. अब उसी कमरे.
You can understand the story better, because otherwise you would have to just focus on hearing and understanding, right? So instead of doing that, the subtitles help you to understand that okay, this is what is happening.
Yes.
And you can get into much more deeper layer of understanding that what the film is all about or what the story is all about, right? Which you won't be able to do without subtitling, because a part of your bandwidth would just be spent on understanding what the guys are saying.
Right. So yes, people do process content more deeply when it's there, and it's there if you want it. Sometimes it's not like you're always going to read it. Sometimes you will read, sometimes you won't. But often there's some word you didn't miss and you caught it, right? So those advantages are there. Yes, but I want, please.
I mean, I get where this is a nation building tool, but why isn't this a top-down approach with, let's say in the US, for instance, the FCC mandates closed caption for broadcast. And given the fact that DV free dish is probably the largest distribution medium, why can't the government mandate all the channels to do this as a policy?
It's happening. So very much, sir. It's exactly in that direction there where it's going, where it's not yet implemented. So the policy that was there for 50% of the content, because they, and it's a good policy, I think, that 50% of the content, not 100%, because that gives some flexibility to channels also to decide where and all. But this is where it is headed. It just needs, these policies going to be notified soon because it's in the courts. There are several things going on, but it's coming. It's coming. That's why I'm saying that all of us will probably need to embrace this and see how we can then make it so for example, even if your content, if your channel is on Free Dish and your content is already there and it goes with the subtitle file, then Free Dish also has the option to say, okay, I want to turn it on here and I don't want to turn it on this program, right? So you have that choice, but it's coming, sir. Yeah, please.
I wanted to ask about AI tools for regional languages, because if one goes to translate content in 5 languages, it would add on to like a production overhead. So could you recommend some tools?
Yeah, I will actually let Nirav, do you want to answer that question? Nirav is our technology guy, and I think he's better equipped to answer that.
Hi. So actually a very good question, and so we are working with IIT Madras, and they are developing tools exactly for Indian languages, basically AI tools which will bring down the cost of adding same language subtitling. But apart from that, what I noticed even in the exhibition on top, there are quite a few solutions which are coming. The industry is already moving very fast on creating AI tools for Indian languages, and some of them are claiming to have above 90% accuracy. So I think industry has already started moving on that, but we are also working very closely and creating tools which will be open source tools which will offer back to the industry, and the more the industry uses that, the better the tools will become. So that is a need that we are going to try and also help with.
Yeah, please.
So I think earlier on channels like Doordarshan, when there were films that were pertaining to education and there were certain government funded films with social messages, there were same language subtitles when we were taking them to rural. But I don't understand why it's needed for a film like Pathan. What are we categorizing it in? Edutainment, infotainment? I want to understand that. I mean, it's a commercial. What education are we getting from that film?
Yeah.
Or why is it needed?
Yeah. So it's an excellent question, right? So this is where I think we have to do a better job of explaining why this is useful there. 1 billion people in India today watch for roughly 3 to 4 hours of TV every day. This is an industry number, right? At the other end, we have the 600 million people who really are not able to read well, but they are called literate, but they are very, very weak readers. So as a nation building exercise, you need a lot of reading before you become a good reader. Now here's an opportunity for advancing reading skills, that's clear, right? Now what we're saying is that for any film, right, is finally consumed in the theater, on television and on streaming, right? Now we're not saying that everywhere there needs to be a choice, because some people want it and some people don't. Let's face that. So for example, in the cinema halls, if there's a small group that wants it, then you need to make.
I mean, when you said that while researching, there are certain data that shows that, you know, people want it, people don't want it, or habitually when you talk about it, if we reverse the whole thing, if I am used to watching something with subtitles, when subtitles are suddenly not there, will I not feel, you know, what's happening? I still have to read like a crutch.
Yeah, so if you're saying if you take it away, what will happen?
I mean, habits are habits, like this way, that way.
And you're right, and habit formation is very important. Now the thing is that we all, for example, like it's interesting, the younger generation in many countries now have started to watch you know, their content with the subtitles, right? But they're also watching some content without the subtitles, so they're comfortable with both. For example, in this case, it's not like we just get used to only one or the other. We can live with both. As long as we see, wherever I see a benefit, I'm going to turn it on. Wherever I don't have a benefit, I'm going to turn it off. Yes. So on OTT, this is a natural fit, no question on that. The only thing that is missing is the Indian language content doesn't have the the file, that's all. But the technology piece to turn it on and off is there. On in cinema halls also the technology is there to turn it on and off if the file were there, but the file is not there today. What we are saying is that the file creation should not be an afterthought. Once it's an afterthought, it becomes extremely expensive to do, and if you do it part of the production process, then it becomes very easy downstream for everybody to have and what I'm almost going to say that the innovation that will happen because this file exists as part of the content, it's a given. Imagine all the AI layers are, अच्छा आपको इसका dubbing तमिल में चाहिए, अभी करके देता हूँ. I'm going to develop an AI engine that will do that. So and maybe somebody will have to go and clean it up and improve it and all that. कोई कहता है हमें blind और sight visually impaired को कि हमें इसका audio description चाहिए. Okay, आपके पास ये subtitle है, ये तो dialogue में है ही, लेकिन बाकी जो visually describe करना है, AI layers can actually do. These are the characters. In fact, you have a script also for that. Who said what, right? So some things can be described literally from the script by again an AI tool. So all of these layers and innovation will build on it if you have the basic ingredient.
But are you saying we are reaching where a regulation is coming that every content needs to have same language subtitles?
We are saying that just as audio track obviously is part of every content, obviously. What we are saying is that make same language subtitle, there's just a script of it, an integral part of every content, so that it's assumed that वो तो है ही, अभी हम मुझे on करना है नहीं करना है, उस पे कुछ उसको use करना है नहीं करना है, वो बाद में देखा जाएगा, मगर वो है.
But why to add this cost in terms of, a country like India is producing tons of
Yes.
programs every day in different languages.
Yes.
And the budgets of every program is getting down and down and down, and adding it, even a 30,000 rupees per hour cost is a cost, and if you calculate the if it is legalized and mandate, it become a mandatory and then the cost burden will come to the channels or producers or whatever it is, whoever it is. So why to add this cost if it is not necessary?
Right. So firstly, ये the third, and I absolutely welcome, absolutely want this kind of a conversation, because this is where we learn, right? So firstly, this cost that we mentioned, 30,000, is today when you don't have the ingredient. Okay, अगर आपको एक मूवी दो कि इसको सबटाइटल करके दे दो, ये कॉस्ट होगा पर आवर आज की तारीख पे, मगर हम कह रहे हैं कि इसको अगर सिस्टम लेवल पे देखा जाए, इंडस्ट्री के सिस्टम लेवल पे, मतलब एवरी कंटेंट हैज दिस स्क्रिप्ट फाइल. After that, so the script file, when I say script file, word to word exactly matching that, वो create करने का cost 5,000 से ज़्यादा नहीं होगा, additional because उसी time पे हो गया, production के time पे.
What happens in the filmmaking when we are in the pre-production and when
Yeah.
the film goes on floor, there are 1 million changes by the time the post-production is complete.
Yes.
During editing also
We anyway
Yes.
have to work on it, even
Yes.
if we have the resource in the beginning.
Yeah.
By the time that the film is ready to be showcased, we still will have to work on this.
Correct.
The censor will also cut some certain things
Yes.
to change it again.
So
it's not a one-time expense.
yes,
It's a continuous.
no. So what I'm saying is that yes. So I'm understanding your concern and I appreciate it and respect it. What I'm saying is that you don't have to necessarily, आपका to some extent it will 80% true to what's going on. Okay, 60% true to what the final product is. Okay, there will be some gaps that need to be filled out, and now an additional language person will have to go and fix that. The cost of that per film at that stage will be not more than 5,000, because you don't have to do it at every step. At the end only when it is certified, बंदे को बोलो कि भाई अभी ये कर दो please, और वो cost 5,000 से ज़्यादा नहीं होगा for a language expert.
That's almost like hiring, like if you're writing a book, you hire an editor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's almost as good as hiring an editor
Yeah.
per language.
Correct.
Right, which means it's not 5,000. It's not 5,000.
So can I answer? Can I answer this?
मेरे पास इतना gap है, मैं इतना ही fill कर रहा हूँ. He will have to go through the entire.
No problem. So fair enough. Okay, let's say the cost is X, okay? Now we can debate about what that cost X is, okay? I may say 5,000, somebody may say 15,000, whatever it is. In the scheme of things, the cost and the benefits that I shared, for the content, forget about nation for a second. The content producer, आपका content has become more marketable. Every streaming platform को चाहिए वो, तो आपको streaming, अरे आप तो उसके साथ दे रहे हैं मुझे file, so your marketability of the content has gone up. Plus, I showed you how people in the rural areas are appreciating it. So when your content goes on television with the same language subtitles, अदरवाइज टेलीविजन वाला से मैं तो नहीं करने वाला हूँ, इसका कॉस्ट है, अरे तुम तो दे रहे हो करके मुझे, तो मेरा चॉइस है खाली मेरे को दिखाना है या नहीं दिखाना है. So look at the huge benefits for the cost that you are spending, right? So that's the. Yeah.
Sir, really appreciate the initiative.
Thank you.
Ironically, India is the number one in subtitles and captioning industries happen here for entire content that is globally there, Canada, US and all that. So irony is that we don't have that law. FCC laws extending to search, so this thing. They have DCMP guidelines. Guidelines are there. What needs to be done, who needs to have. Within the 24 hours of your airing, you need to have your captions, subtitles. Basically, captions you need to have. Not perfect, but it has to have. Within 10 days, you'll need to have a perfect subtitle, perfect captions. These all are there. There is no guidelines for us. This law has been there in India since maybe a lot of time.
Yeah.
I've been in the industry. I work with Netflix. I work with Amazon. Netflix spends a lot on subtitling.
Yeah.
And for your argument on from the initial stages, you need to have a language guy with you to write down the dialogues. That does not work. So it is way expensive. After the final product is done, that is when captioning, the script can help. It can be an asset, but that does not absolutely help. That is a cost that does not. It is very cost effective when the movie is done, and then when you sit and you can have, if the movie is not published or it is not aired, you can sit with the writer. You can have queries like wherever I'm unable to understand the dialogue. Right. Why it is more important to have a same language subtitle is, for example, I am from South India, Hyderabad. I'm from Hyderabad, so I understand Hindi. What about people in Tamil Nadu?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just going to. I think we are in sync here. That if it's done at the early stage, then the things move. If this later, the cost is there. Now, what you're talking about is that media accessibility across languages also is a form of media accessibility. So that's why we are saying that there are actually same language subtitling is one, and generally an English translation, which the industry anyway does, because based on these two, you can actually have AI layers to then do translation, dubbing, etc. through tools with further refinement by human language experts. So things are moving at a very, very fast rate, but this basic ingredient, if you put it in place, I think it will work. I have been told by the organizers that that should have been the last question, but if there's a very quick comment or question, then yeah.
I think, can we take it offline if it's okay?
Yeah, offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
because we're running short of time.
Yeah, Bridge will just finish with that this video. This just one video to finish with a positive thought.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Okay, I think Neerav wanted to make sure that we understood the big value that we are creating for everybody, especially our children. Right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bridge. Thanks, Neerav. I'll just call upon Satyendra Mehra again, who is Group Director Nuremberg Messe, to hand over mementos.
Oh, come
yeah.